Dear viewers, and welcome to a new edition of our program Africa Today. In today's edition, we are going to shed light about the COVID-19 in Africa and the expectations for the vaccine. And we'll start with this report where Egypt received its first shipment of the vaccines developed by China National Pharmaceutical Group, Sinopharm, late on Thursday, and will get more deliveries soon. More details in the following story by Samah al-Sharif.
The first shipment of a coronavirus vaccine developed by a Chinese pharmaceutical company arrived at Cairo airport from the United Arab Emirates, which has been carrying out phase 3 clinical trials of the vaccine. The UAE Health Ministry said this week that the Chinese vaccine had 86% efficacy, citing an interim analysis of the late-stage clinical trials. The vaccine has already been used on about 1 million people in China in an emergency program. Health officials in Egypt said the vaccine, taken in 2 doses 21 days apart, will be free of charge, and authorities will prioritize vaccinating medical staff and people with chronic diseases. It was unclear how many doses of the vaccine Egypt had ordered, but the health ministry said there would be more shipments in the days to come. Egypt, with a population of more than 100 million, is a large market for vaccines. In September, Russia announced a deal to supply Egypt with 25 million doses of the Sputnik V vaccine.
And to shed more light on the vaccine and the latest concerning COVID-19 in Africa, we are very much delighted to have with us over the phone Mr. Raouf Ghaffar, our economic expert. Mr. Ghaffar, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, my dear.
Sir, how do you see the move to get the Chinese Sinopharm vaccine to Egypt?
I think we have agreed with the Chinese long ago, not only to supply us with a big number of vaccines, but I think there is an understanding that we might manufacture it locally.
Yes.
But in any event, it's a very nice gesture from the Chinese government.
Indeed.
And I hope, from what we hear, as a matter of fact, the Chinese vaccine is safe, and the rate of efficiency is again around 85% or 86%, which is very good. So I mean, the government will provide it free for the people who need it. So I mean, the whole thing looks promising, looks good. I hope it works, and we sort of at least get rid of this virus for some months. Yes. Sure.
Yes, Mr. Ghaffar, the United Arab Emirates has been carrying out actually phase 3 of the clinical trials of the vaccine. What does this phase include, and to what extent that would give us some satisfaction about the safety of the drug?
Well, I mean, as we know,
Yes.
some experiments, bed experiments have been done for this vaccine. So
Yes.
there is a high possibility of safety, and people who used it have not suffered from side effects or anything that is really bad. So, I mean, these are all signs
Yes.
that the vaccine is safe, and that things should go better using it. And this applies not only to Egypt, but I think that China as well, since you mentioned Africa.
Yes.
I think China made an initiative towards most of the African countries to supply them with quantities for free.
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Ghaffar.
One last thing I want to mention about China,
Yes.
or the Chinese vaccine compared to the American or the British, etc.,
Yes.
is that I think they have started experiments and manufacturing earlier than the European and the Americans, and in the same time they have probably tried it in China, and maybe that is the reason the rate of infection is getting lower and lower in China. Hopefully.
Sir, actually, many people in many countries around the world are reluctant to receive the vaccine, or they have some concern. What are your expectations here regarding the reaction for the vaccination here in Egypt and in Africa?
Well, I don't want to get into that. In other words, some people are a little bit not skeptical, but
Yes.
they prefer to wait and see if there are side effects or something of the kind. But in my opinion, and this is a lot of doctors, share this opinion, there are people that must be vaccinated. The doctors and the nurses working, as I call, on the front line. And they are communicating, and they are within affected people 24 hours every day. So these people have to have the first priority, and they have to get the vaccine regardless.
Yes.
Then we add to them all the people with chronic disease. Problems with the kidneys, diabetes. There are a lot of chronic diseases which make people a little bit vulnerable. So these, again, patients with such diseases should again get priority to it. But as far as and this is my personal opinion.
Yes.
Having heard from so many doctors about the safety of the Chinese vaccine, particularly, makes me one of the people who would not mind trying it as soon as it is available to us.
Yes. Mr. Ghaffar, on the economic level, to what extent do you believe that the existence now of the vaccine in many countries around the world could give somehow reassurance to the performance of the economy, as the world economy has greatly suffered from the repercussion of the COVID-19 on the African level and here in Egypt, sir?
First of all, we have to understand two things.
Yes.
Again, the effect, the period through which the vaccine is effective. I can get vaccinated today, and I don't know how long I will be immune. Some people say 3 months, some others say 6.
3 to 6, maybe.
So at least during this period, things can get back to normal, businesses resume, economy start to roll again, etc. So this, again, we should see some improvement, definitely. One other point is, depending on the quantity of vaccines that will be made available. I'm sure they can't produce 7 billion vaccines covering the totality of the people living on planet Earth. But at least if they can cover the working class, at least maybe 20%, 30%, any vaccination, regardless of its effectiveness and the duration of the effectiveness, I'm sure will have a very positive impact on the economy of all countries that would use it.
Yes, sure. Mr. Ghaffar, also we have to highlight here that till the vaccine is really available for everyone, we are still waiting for more maybe restrictions to be imposed. We have to start to be more strict in our precautionary measures. So how do you see here the situation until we are safe and maybe the vaccine would be available for everyone? Mr. Ghaffar? Mr. Ghaffar?
Yes.
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 Yes. How do you see here the plan till the vaccine is available for every citizen?
I heard you. All precautionary measures should be kept as strict as possible for as long as we need.
Yes.
Wearing masks, washing our hands, using sanitizers, etc., etc. These are, of course, social spacing,
Yes.
etc. These are things that we have to live with at least for some time. So we will not reduce, because as we know,
Yes.
the vaccination will take some time, and quantities will be provided sort of regularly, but
Yes.
in order to vaccinate the total population, we need a long time, so we have to keep our measures, particularly that we are in the middle of the second wave, which is, again, very nasty. So one has to keep all the precautionary measures as much as he possibly can.
Yes.
And, of course, as soon as the vaccine is made available for everyone, things will get easy a little bit, but I think we should understand
Yes.
that this phenomena I'm talking about, the COVID-19, is here to stay for some
Yes.
time. And even if the vaccine is available, again, we will have
We
to...
should still be cautious
100%.
indeed. Yes, Mr. Raouf Gafar, our economic expert, thank you very much, sir, for your precious input. And moving on to Ethiopia, where the Ethiopian government says it has defeated the TPLF forces and struck a deal with the United Nations to allow aid. But some aid agencies and donors say the agreement is too restrictive and security remains a problem. More details.
The first non-governmental aid convoy since fighting started arrived in the capital of Ethiopia, northern Tigray region, on Saturday, as the government ordered businesses to reopen and officials to return to work. The federal government restricted access to Tigray after fighting began on November 4 between its troops and the Tigray People's Liberation Front (TPLF). The TPLF is a political party that ruled the province. So far, the conflict in Africa's second most populous nation is believed to have killed thousands of people and displaced around 950,000. But the tempo of the fighting seems to have slowed since the government announced the capture of the regional capital Mekelle late last month, although information is hard to verify due to the restrictions. Phone and internet connections are gradually being restored, but most of the region remains unreachable for journalists and outside aid agencies. The ICRC said the convoy of 7 white trucks that arrived in Mekelle was organized by the International Committee of the Red Cross and the Ethiopian Red Cross. The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC's Regional Africa Director, said doctors and nurses have been weeks without new supplies, running water, and electricity. He said this medical shipment will inject new stocks, help patients, and reduce those possible life or death triage decisions.
The United States adopted on Saturday a new official map of Morocco that includes the disputed territory of the Western Sahara. More in the following story.
The U.S. ambassador to Rabat said a new map of Morocco is a tangible representation of President Donald Trump's bold proclamation 2 days ago, recognizing Morocco's sovereignty over Western Sahara. Ambassador David Fisher signed the new official U.S. government map of the Kingdom of Morocco at a ceremony at the U.S. Embassy in the capital, Rabat. The map will be presented to Morocco's King Mohammed VI. Western Sahara is a disputed and divided former Spanish colony, mostly under Morocco's control, where tensions with pro-independence Polisario Front have simmered since the 1970s. The Polisario condemned in the strongest terms the fact that outgoing American President Donald Trump attributes to Morocco something which does not belong to the country, as they said, namely sovereignty over Western Sahara. The movement dismissed the announcement and vowed to fight on until Moroccan forces withdraw from all the Western Sahara.
In a related development, the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine was set to begin leaving the company's Michigan factory on Sunday, ready to be injected into the arms of millions of the most vulnerable Americans as the global death toll approaches 1.6 million. Doses will be shipped out in boxes containing dry ice that are capable of staying at minus 70 degrees Celsius, while the frigid temperature is needed to preserve the drug. The imminent start of the mass vaccination campaign in the world hardest hit country came as Italy overtook Britain as the European nation with the highest coronavirus death toll. Our dear viewers, of course, Egypt has received, of course, the vaccine of the Chinese firm from the United Arab Emirates, which will be given, of course, as it was announced by the Ministry of Health, to the most vulnerable citizens and the medical staff, as well as the people with chronic diseases, and indeed that would be the start of the vaccination phase. Our dear viewers, with that we come to the end of this edition of Africa Today. Many thanks for watching.